It's Friday, November 14th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. The federal government plans to fast-track a mine, but do locals even want it? Could Canada's next generation of fighter jets be built on the East Coast?
It's a colder start to the weekend, and then a system arriving Sunday will bring a mix of snow and rain.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. New Brunswick's Tungsten mine, announced years ago and sitting dormant since, could rev up now that Ottawa identified it as a fast-track project. Governments want it, but as CTV's Laura Brown tells us, it faces pushback from the community.
You might guess what the community of Millville was named after. The area once had a number of sawmills. Employment came from the forest. While the mills have since closed, this general store has withstood the change.
This place here has actually been here for about 138 years, so it's been here a long time, and I used to sit on the front deck and eat ice cream when I was a kid.
He says the area could use a boost, which is why he's hopeful the Tungsten mine will become a reality.
It's close to the store and it's close to the amenities. Hopefully it'll go and it'll bring lots of work around and help everybody out.
Millville sits just south of the Tungsten mine site. The proposed tungsten mine has officially been referred to Ottawa's Major Projects Office by the Prime Minister, which means the company, Northcliffe Resources, could receive regulatory and financial backing faster. The CEO said the aim is for the construction phase to begin 2027 and then the operations to begin sometime late 2029, although he said it could be sooner depending on how this process goes with the Major Projects Office in Ottawa.
We were very optimistic about the announcement, and hearing it yesterday kind of makes it real for us and for all the opportunities that it'll provide for the region.
But there are certainly concerns, especially for the environment and how long it's been since the environmental impact assessments have been done.
The word in the news is that this is one of the largest tungsten deposits in the world, but it's one of the lowest quality ore deposits in the world as well. So it's going to generate a huge amount of waste. That waste has to be stored in a massive tailing storage facility, and that tailing storage facility, because of its scope and size, is that much more subject to a remote but potential environmental disaster.
East of the mine site, Stanley residents are mixed.
I think the economy around Stanley right now needs a boost.
Well, it's just going to destroy the water, it's going to destroy their streams, and it's going to destroy our wildlife.
A debate that's no doubt sounding off in these communities as the mine moves a little further down the road. Laura Brown, CTV News, Millville, New Brunswick.
New Brunswick needs the income the mine would provide. That became clear when provincial officials offered a look at the books today. After 2 fiscal quarters, the projected deficit is now $286 million more than what was budgeted. The deficit, as it stands today, is projected to hit $835 million. That's the largest budget shortfall in 20 years. The finance minister says revenue projections are almost $180 million lower because of a reduction in corporate and personal income taxes, as well as less money from Ottawa. At the same time, the province says expenses are higher due to surging costs in healthcare and social development.
While this is not the fiscal situation we wanted to be in, years of neglect in our services and infrastructure have led us to this point, and we have to address it.
The opposition argues there's no doubt the deficit will hit the $1 billion mark, and that tough decisions promised by the Holt government need to get tougher, including possible cuts to the civil service. Tensions with the U.S. has Ottawa considering buying fewer American F-35 fighter jets. That might provide an opening for a Saab jet that could be built in part by a maritime company. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness has more.
With a review underway, the Swedish manufacturer of the Gripen jets is waiting in the wings.
I am wholeheartedly in favor of this. I have not been a proponent of the F-35 for Canada.
Canada has committed to buying 16 of the Lockheed Martin-built F-35s, with an option to boost that number to 88. Military analyst Ken Hansen says the American F-35 doesn't fit the needs of the Canadian military, and the entire deal should be scrapped, even if that means facing a penalty for doing so.
It is so limited in terms of what Canada needs for long range, long sustainment, ease of operation, that the F-35 is simply out on the logistic and operational terms.
If contracts are signed, some of the assembly of the Gripen jets could happen here at IMP Aerospace in Enfield, just outside of Halifax. Saab President and CEO Michael Johansson confirmed he has talked to Ottawa about making Gripens on Canadian soil, potentially creating up to 10,000 jobs.
It's important for Canada to have sovereign capability in Canada to do their own upgrades, to build parts of it, to do final assembly and tests. We, as Saab, we are prepared to do that technology transfer to Canada and support that build-up.
Ken Hansen believes there are benefits beyond meeting Canada's needs. Global orders for the Gripens could also be filled at assembly lines in Canada.
One of the reasons why I believe this is that Rolls-Royce, who's going to put this new engine in the Gripen aircraft, is based just outside of Montreal.
A delegation from Sweden that includes the King and Queen is visiting Canada next week. Michael Johansson is coming along too. A visit to Bombardier in Montreal is on the agenda, but Nova Scotia's IMP remains an intrinsic part of the plan. Jonathan McGuinness, CTV News, Enfield, Nova Scotia.
Online, New Brunswick RCMP have arrested 5 young people and an adult with a firearm incident and fleeing from police. You can read the details at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. A doctor charged with sexual assault this summer now faces additional charges for sex crimes at hospitals here in our region. Sanjeev Surpal, a doctor once employed at the hospital near Amherst, now faces 5 additional charges of sexual assault. Police say the charges stem from his time working as an emergency room physician in Amherst and Sackville, New Brunswick. He turned himself in to police in Edmundston. Surpal has been released and will appear in court in both Amherst and Moncton in the new year. And there's a live look at downtown Charlottetown right now, where it's currently 3 degrees, 7 minutes after 6 o'clock. We get our first look at the weather. Kaylin Mitchell here. It looks like there's some, some water on the streets there, Kaylin.
Yeah, there's definitely some precipitation in the vicinity of Prince Edward Island. Now, I'm saying precipitation, Todd, because as we make our way through this evening and tonight, it may be in the form of either a few showers or some flurries.
Well, that's why I hesitated to say rain, because I thought, no, you're going to come on and tell me it was wet snow.
That's right. And this time of the year, it can be tough when we get into this type of situation because we have some colder air in place aloft of us, so that is more favorable for some snow to develop. But the temperatures are still sitting above the freezing mark, so as that snow comes down, in some cases, it can just melt and turn over to a rain shower. But there will be a further chance of some showers, maybe flurries around Prince Edward Island, the northern eastern areas of Nova Scotia, including Cape Breton as we make our way through tonight. It's going to be a chilly to cold night across the Maritime region if you're heading out for Friday evening and Friday night plans. Keep that in mind. One of the reasons why it is still cold, well, we had that polar sourced air move in a couple of days ago, but it's been refreshed today by a northwest wind. It's tapping into some further colder air located over northern areas of Quebec and bringing it down into the Maritime region. Those winds still being sustained right now. In a lot of cases, 10 to 20 kilometers per hour, higher for some coastal areas with some gusts between 30 and 40. Now, the wind speeds will diminish a little bit as we move through tonight, but the wind direction will remain out of the northwest. Now, back to those showers and flurries. Here's a look at our timeline for the potential for some showers and flurries as we head through this evening and tonight. And you can see the streaks coming in off the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and that mixture of blues and greens indicating that mixture likely of some showers and some flurries. Now, there's a few areas that are just a little bit more likely to get into some of that snow, and that, of course, includes some of the higher terrain in Cape Breton, up into the Cape Breton Highlands. Certainly the potential for some ongoing flurries tonight into tomorrow morning. Also, as we get into the overnight hours, though, it looks like higher chance of some flurries coming across parts of the north coast of Prince Edward Island, especially up towards the northeast there, towards locations like Surrey. Wouldn't surprise me if the flurries are a little bit more persistent through the overnight hours for that part of PEI. Taking a look at the cloud conditions then, no surprise then, that's where we're going to find the most cloud cover around tonight. Prince Edward Island, eastern areas of Nova Scotia. Other parts of the Maritimes getting over to partly cloudy conditions. In the night sky tonight, it's a waning crescent moon. Actually, it's not in the night sky because it's going to be below the horizon most of the night. It'll be rising above the eastern horizon early Saturday morning. You can spot the planet Jupiter, though, over the eastern horizon around 10 p.m. The aurora unlikely to be observed tonight. There is a quick pass from the International Space Station at 6:38 p.m., about 3 minutes from the west towards the southwest. Pretty low in the sky, though, Todd.
Kayla, an indication that the rain that we have been getting is having an impact. Mandatory water restrictions just been lifted in Spring Hill.
That's great news.
Yeah, so it's starting to kick in. We'll see you later for the full forecast. A story we brought you last night about construction headaches along a Halifax area road prompted a lot of reaction. So today, Emma Convey went back to hear more stories of just how disruptive the road work has become.
160 kids go to this children's center just outside of Halifax. Drop-offs and pickups are normally easy. That was before roadwork started around the corner.
We're noticing, again, like the morning bus was late this morning, so I had 8 kids that were, almost an hour late going to school. So that's affecting them, they're frustrated, they're tired.
They blame the overlapping repaving projects on St. Margaret's Bay Road and surrounding area. One's a provincial project, the other part of the city's road improvement plan.
We are having to pay our staff overtime in the sense that they maybe get late getting off in the afternoon to cover for ratio, or not having a lunch break because they're sitting in traffic for an hour, sometimes an hour and 20 minutes.
Area schools are feeling the pain as well.
We reached out to the Halifax Regional Center for Education about this. HRC tells us they've had 91 delay notifications in the Bayview High family of schools since school started because of these construction projects. They say they recognize the impacts of these delays and are working closely with everyone involved to try to minimize them as much as possible.
When it comes to emergency vehicles, the province points out workers must stop traffic and allow them through when lights and sirens are on.
Across 3 stations that may be impacted, we were able to confirm with them that they haven't had any trouble to date. They stop traffic in all directions and assist the emergency apparatus in getting through the construction zones in a timely manner and in a safe manner.
The union representing the Halifax firefighters says across HRM, we continue to see the cumulative impact of narrowed streets, increased congestion, traffic calming features, and major construction projects, all of which reduce the ability of drivers to safely move out of the way when we respond with lights and sirens. The project should be completed within the next 3 weeks, according to the province. Emma Convey, CTV News, Upper Tantallon, Nova Scotia.
Now, road work in downtown Halifax is proving frustrating for drivers, and some fear what the city put in place could pose a safety risk. Here's Callum Smith.
The work on Brunswick Street is almost finished. Bike lanes have been added, parking spaces removed, all designed to make the area more accessible.
An exciting part of the project is upgrades to pedestrian infrastructure, like the crosswalks are shorter, which I like to see, and we also have an additional public space.
This is what the public space will look like when finished. The councillor says some parking spots will be reinstated, though it's not clear how many. On the road, some challenges for big rigs.
Truckers do have to make deliveries down here. This is a very, very nasty tight fit.
That's J.C. Goddard, owner of a roadside company who makes traffic safety videos in Halifax. The former truck driver was bothered by what he saw, and it showed today.
He's now going to make this turn on a one-way intersection, which means he has to pull out a little farther and turn tighter.
That didn't go as planned.
See what I mean? He can't make the turn.
That wasn't the only trucker who abandoned their turn after approaching the intersection. Others made it slowly.
This project has been 7 or more years in the making, so lots of design and lots of conversation, and it's being built according to the design. As far as narrow lanes go, that's safer for pedestrians and whatnot, so that's a positive.
A thought seconded by this pedestrian.
I think it's nice, especially for the bike riders, and also it's nice for the people walking around here.
Some no right on reds have been added for motorists.
I think that they almost made it more dangerous when they have all of the stuff going in at the same intersection.
There's an interesting battle right now, obviously, with going green and allowing more people to bike downtown and things like that. But how we go about that, we need to be a bit smarter about it.
According to Councillor White, the road work is to be completed by December 4th. Callum Smith, CTV News, Halifax.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Nova Scotia's medical examiner is recommending changes after reviewing a pair of deaths. One focuses on jails, the other on public pools. CTV's Jesse Thomas has more.
Nova Scotia's chief medical examiner is calling for major changes after 2 death reviews. One involves a person who died in a provincial jail, and another involves a child in provincial care who drowned in an aquatics facility. But Dr. Michael Bowes wouldn't elaborate on any other details around the causes of death, citing privacy concerns, but says the recommendations are key to preventing similar tragedies.
The efforts to take those tragedies and make lessons out of them is still kind of in its infancy.
Death review committees were established in 2021 to examine deaths linked to intimate partner violence and of youth in provincial care, while in 2023 the province added reviews for deaths in custody. For jails, there are nearly 20 recommendations. They cover better medical record sharing and keeping, to improve standards of care, to staff being trained better to recognize and respond to addictions and mental health issues, to improved keeping of evidence like photos and videos from inside the correctional facilities.
The theme of them is mostly information management. You know, how and where information was collected, by whom, how was it stored, where does it go next, is it reviewable, you know, is it or was it used in the way that we all intended it to be.
When it comes to water safety, the recommendations extend to all public pools.
We need to do a better job in water safety in our province. You know, we've made a number of recommendations there.
And they include a call to update regulations for all public pools and aquatic facilities, to clear posted emergency instructions and faster ways to alert first responders, to having lifeguards on duty during peak times, and stronger adult supervision rules. These findings and recommendations have been shared already with relevant government departments. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
Time for a break on this Friday night. Still to come, a colder November evening ahead for most of the Maritimes. Caleb will have those details. But next, there's a new plan for an old favorite.
What we want to do is turn both the resort as well as St. Andrews by the Sea, and of course we sort of live together in everything we do, into a true year-round destination.
There you go, the Algonquin Hotel, dressed up for Christmas, wants to be open in the winter. An historic maritime resort is trying something new. For well over a century, the Algonquin Hotel in St. Andrews has been a summer hotspot. Now its owners are betting it could become a winter destination too. CTV's Avery McRae took a trip.
The inside of the historic Algonquin Resort is decked out for the holiday season, but soon it will have a new look altogether.
What we want to do is turn both the resort as well as St. Andrews by the Sea, and of course we sort of live together in everything we do, into a true year-round destination.
In order to make the 136-year-old resort more attractive 12 months of the year, the hotel is upgrading all of its 230-plus rooms, as well as its public spaces like front lobbies and various bars. About half of the rooms have already been redone to give them a seaside feel.
We don't want the guest room to feel like you're sitting in downtown Montreal or downtown Vancouver. You're not. You're in a really special place with a lot of heritage.
Also part of the year-round draw will be the addition of a soon-to-be-open Nordic spa that will be operated by a group in Moncton.
The great thing with these thermal spas is they do, they're great if it's snowing out or if it's cold out. It's a really great experience.
The Algonquin Resort is owned by Invest Hotels, Canada's largest hotel operator. Executives say after a big summer of inter-Canadian travel, the upgrades will prime the resort for a new wave of visitors.
We have been investing actually pretty significantly in conjunction with Visit St. Andrews and Tourism NB to try to get more public relation marketing into other destinations about just how special St. Andrews by the Sea is.
Officials don't expect the upgrades to the public spaces to have a big impact on hotel guests. Avery McRae, CTV News, St. Andrews, New Brunswick.
Still to come, a chance of flurries Saturday with a mix of snow and rain on Sunday. A little bit of everything. St. Andrews will certainly get some of that. Kayla Mitchell has the details after the break. Peek at blue sky there. Calm scene along the coast this afternoon, French Village, Nova Scotia.
Yeah, cloud cover did break up for a few parts of the region today. Most extensive sunny breaks through parts of New Brunswick. There was rain, though, as we know, to start off this morning, and still some showers and some flurries coming off the Gulf of St. Lawrence for eastern parts of the region.
This is this time of year where we're going to get a bit of everything.
Yes, and a little bit more than a bit of everything headed our way on Sunday. Let's talk about that next weather system. So here's how this one's going to be playing out. So this is a developing system right now that's currently in Manitoba, but it's going to be making its way quickly across both Ontario as well as Quebec and headed straight towards the Maritime region. Now, as it moves into the Maritimes on Sunday, it's mostly New Brunswick that's going to end up on the northern side of this weather system. So that's where colder air is likely to remain more in place with moisture wrapping around that low into that colder air, and that of course is a recipe for snow, and that's showing up here through the blues. It's actually possible that many parts of New Brunswick start off as some snow with this weather system, including Fredericton, which could pick up amounts anywhere between trace up to around 5 centimeters before the turnover to rain takes place. Now, it is going to be mostly rain for Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island, and even the rain snow line will push further north into New Brunswick throughout the day on Sunday. So the accumulation for New Brunswick looks most likely in the morning hours, and especially for the northwestern corner of that province. That's where some of the blues get shaded in a little bit darker here. That's a potential, I would say, of a general 5 to 15 centimeters snowfall, and it's going to be one of these snows where the amount that accumulates varies greatly depending on elevation. Lower elevations might see as little as a few centimeters. Higher elevations, though, that's where you get into the higher chances of seeing some snowfall amounts that could be several centimeters or more, maybe getting up into that 10 to 15 centimeter range. And of course, keep in mind as well, it doesn't take that much snow on the roads to create slick surfaces. One of the reasons why Environment Canada has a special weather statement out for that northwestern corner of New Brunswick. They're advising travelers through that part of the Maritimes Sunday into Sunday afternoon. Give yourself time and space. There may be some winter driving conditions. Taking a look at our timeline for the shorter term, talking about tonight into tomorrow, you can see the chance of some flurries and showers off the Gulf of St. Lawrence continuing for Prince Edward Island, North Shore of Nova Scotia tonight, and locations in Cape Breton, and that lasts through the day on Saturday. Other parts of the Maritimes on Saturday, mostly looking at a mix of sun and cloud. Now, winds are going to remain out of the northwest for both Friday night and for Saturday. The wind speed comes down just a little bit for tomorrow, but still breezy. There'll be sustained winds 10 to 20 kilometers per hour with gusts between 20 and 40. That northwest wind helping to keep the colder air in place. And it is going to be colder for a November night tonight. Low temperatures in New Brunswick falling into a range around -3 to -7. Prince Edward Island tonight with a lot of low temperatures down towards or a degree or two below the freezing mark, and a lot of lows for Nova Scotia tonight between -4 and 0. Some locations in Cape Breton with some lows between 0 and 3 degrees. High temperatures of 0 to 3 in the north of New Brunswick for tomorrow. And central and southern parts of the province, it's going to be a chilly afternoon with highs between 1 and 4 degrees, especially with that breezy northwest wind. And for Prince Edward Island for tomorrow, high temperatures between 1 and 4 degrees. In the east of Nova Scotia, high temperatures will be in the low single digits as well. That is below seasonable for this far into November. Northern and central areas of Nova Scotia, highs around 1 for Amherst, Truro, 2 at Enfield, and 3 for Halifax, 2 tomorrow for Lunenburg. In the Annapolis Valley tomorrow, high temperatures 1 at Kentville and Middleton, 2 at Digby, and on the south shore of Nova Scotia, the high temperatures between 1 and 3 degrees. In the 7-day outlook, so we talked about that mix of snow and rain coming in for New Brunswick on Sunday. In behind it, that chilly air moves back into place, so it's a chance of flurries on Monday. Mix of sun and cloud Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, but looking quite cool or chilly all the way through. For Nova Scotia in the forecast, it's mostly rain on Sunday. Temperatures getting a bump up because of a changeover to a southerly wind. But in behind it, the chilly air returns, and it's a chance of flurries on Monday. Cloudy periods on Tuesday of next week. A mix of sun and cloud on Wednesday. Looking sunny and chilly on Thursday. And a mix of sun and cloud next Friday. For Prince Edward Island, the forecast, we have rain on Sunday, followed by a chance of flurries on Monday as the high temperature will be closer to 4 degrees. Cloudy periods with a high of 3 on Tuesday. A mix of sun and cloud follows for Wednesday, but next Thursday is looking a little bit sunnier. Todd.
All right, now, Kalen, we've got a big game on Sunday, the Grey Cup being played in typically chilly Winnipeg this time of year. How's it looking?
Yeah. Is it in Winnipeg this year? I thought it was in Regina.
No, Winnipeg.
Uh-oh. Well, it's fine. They're looking at similar weather conditions. I kind of did a forecast for Regina because for whatever reason I was thinking it was the Alouettes at the Rough Riders. But yeah, they're looking at partly cloudy conditions and temperatures are going to be chilly. So for those who are attending the game, they're going to want to bundle up for it. I would expect that the evening temperature will be headed down towards the freezing mark or a little bit below, especially as we get towards the end of the game. But still looks like they're going to be holding on to some fairly decent weather for the Grey Cup.
Were you tipping your hand there by picking Saskatchewan?
I'm not going to admit to anything.
Yeah, okay, that's probably best. And you can catch the national championship game right here on Sunday night. The 112th Grey Cup live from Winnipeg. My Alouettes taking on clearly Kalen's Rough Riders. They square off here on CTV and TSN Sunday evening at 7. The pregame coverage runs all afternoon starting at 2 o'clock. Still for us tonight, we're going to look at real estate trends for the coming year around here. And Katie has Canadian hip-hop royalty on the scene.
Peace, families. The Maestro Fresh Wes. I'm talking about my brand new children's album, Back to the Time Machine. Stay tuned.
Okay, happy Friday, and hopefully we see you this Saturday at the Parade of Lights.
If possible, bring down a non-perishable food donation or cash for Feed Nova Scotia.
And Monday, you could win a gift card to St. Louis Bar and Grill.
Welcome back on this Friday night. Interest rates have dropped, more properties are being built, and real estate analysts are starting to look towards 2026. Joining us to gaze in his crystal ball for us tonight is Matt Hansberger, president of Royal LePage Atlantic. Good to see you again, Matt.
Thank you, Todd. It's a pleasure.
I know this is a time of year that typically people are thinking about other things, maybe not real estate. Things slow down a bit. Has that been the case this year?
Yeah, as soon as you hit about the middle of November, you start to see people making plans for the Christmas holidays and what they're going to do with their housing. And, you know, we tend to see properties kind of come off the market for a little bit. And then as soon as January 2nd hits, you know, they start to come back on. So we're hitting sort of that low point right now in the year for sure.
We hear all kinds of fear and loathing in places like Vancouver and Toronto, especially in the condo market. How has the Maritimes fared in, say, the past year?
Well, this is one of the challenges you have when you're talking about real estate in Canada, is that the whole country gets painted with the brush of Toronto and Vancouver, and really BC and Ontario, the last sort of CREA numbers we looked at, were the only markets that had seen price drops year to date. So that's going back a month or so now. But the rest of the provinces in the country have actually seen very slight appreciation. Quebec actually has seen a lot. So, you know, when you start to talk about real estate, you do have to get local. And Nova Scotia's held up pretty well so far. So, yeah, Vancouver, Toronto, you know, they're certainly seeing challenges with the overbuilt condo markets in both those places. But we haven't seen any of that sort of impact here.
Are the Maritimes returning to its slow and steady, comfortable zone, I think, is where we were for many years?
Everywhere but St. John, New Brunswick. St. John, New Brunswick still has a real lack of inventory, and you know, we're still seeing multiple offers there. Properties going way over market, and hard time for new first-time homebuyers to get into the market in St. John. But to the rest of the sort of Atlantic Canadian market, we're seeing exactly what you just described: a more normal, rational way in which you buy your home. You get a little bit of time to look. You get to make an offer that's a reasonable offer. You get to put an inspection clause in. Those kinds of things are existing again here in Halifax specifically.
Okay, so maybe people can get some sleep after all if they're looking for a place. And it doesn't hurt that interest rates are down. We don't know what the long-term trend on that is going to be. Are there people sitting on the sidelines? Is money parked out there waiting for maybe the spring?
100%. Yeah. What's happening right now is it's the must moves who are moving. And so we're seeing people who, are having life circumstances causing them to move. So new job, growing family, downsizing because you're at retirement, that kind of thing. Those are the folks who are moving. There's a lot less speculative moving going on right now. But I actually think that this is one of those times where there's an opportunity to get into the market. We haven't seen prices go crazy this year. Every year wages very slowly catch up to pricing, and so there's some investment opportunities out there for those who are kind of out there looking.
Oh, okay. Let's drill down on Halifax in particular. A lot of the holes that were in the city are beginning to fill up with high rises. There's a lot of density. What do the housing starts look like for next year? Will that take some pressure off the demand?
Yeah, I think so. And honestly, like there's enough houses at this point, I would say, to satisfy the level of demand we have right now. If you look into the crystal ball, into the future, though, there's a lot of new Canadians and a lot of new Nova Scotians that have moved here over the last 5 years who are currently renting, and those people are going to want to own homes. And so I think that's where the demand question is going to come in. A lot of the holes as you drive around the peninsula are rental built properties. And so, we are still going to be short on the low rise, single family, semi-detached, townhouse stock. And I think those are the things that are still moving quite quickly. And so the builders are building a lot of those right now, and they're doing their best to keep up in their segment.
I wanted to ask you about that because it does seem like in the Metro Halifax area that there's a lot of attention paid to the cranes. Everybody can see a crane. It's those townhouses. People want a front door, don't they?
They do. Is when you get into ownership, we don't have nearly the uptick that Toronto, Vancouver, some of the bigger centers have for condos. We have a couple of condo projects on the go right now that have done, fairly well, I would say. But you drive through Toronto and people are excited to be moving into the apartment style condos. That's just not what the demand seems to be for here in Atlantic Canada right now as much. We see a lot of low rise stuff that's getting snapped up, and so it's the things that are like there's a big development going on in Dartmouth right now where there's all kinds of semi-detached townhomes, single family homes that are at a reasonable price. Those are the ones getting snapped up, and in parts of the city like Timberley and those kinds of areas, you're seeing a single family resale happen at a reasonable number, and those are the kinds of places where people are still looking to do transactions fairly.
And affordable housing, obviously, is still very much an issue. Matt Hunsberger, thank you very much. Royal LePage, we'll talk to you in the new year and see how things are shaping up.
Always happy to help. Thank you.
All right. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more of your Friday show after this. Time for our look at the health headlines. A gene therapy treatment is showing promise in controlling cholesterol. CTV's Amanda Debison has more. Friday edition of Your Lifeline.
Heart disease is the #1 killer of adults worldwide, and now scientists may have found a way to lower the risk. Researchers were able to turn off a specific gene in patients' liver and found it reduced the amount of low-density lipoprotein, or the bad cholesterol, in their bodies by half. They also found an average 55% reduction in triglycerides, a different type of fat in the blood, which is linked to a higher risk of cardiovascular disease. Researchers hope the method could one day be used as a one-and-done procedure for those with hard-to-control cholesterol. Canadians now have access to a public listing of active cancer trials across the country. It's a resource that has long existed in the U.S. and Europe. The Canadian Cancer Society announced the launch of the new website called Cancer Trials Canada this week. The site is entirely bilingual and was created to make academic and pharmaceutical-led trials more accessible to patients. The newly announced website also provides resources to educate the public about how clinical trials operate and the potential risks and benefits involved. You can find out more by visiting cancer.ca. Finally, researchers are taking a closer look to see how sweat and salt work together to keep us cool. A few years ago, scientists at Arizona State University created a first-of-its-kind outdoor sweating mannequin named Andy to better understand how the body cools itself in extreme heat. The next phase of the project used real human subjects wearing a specialized heat suit that uses a micro camera to see how the sweat glands turn on and off. It turns out our sweat evaporates 3 times faster than we originally thought, leaving salt deposits left behind in the process. It's this salty sweating process that actually cools us down. Scientists haven't reached any conclusions yet, but early data suggests not taking showers right away may actually help you cool off faster. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Devison for The Lifeline.
He's known as the godfather of Canadian hip-hop, but his latest audience is a little younger. As Katie Kelly shows us, Maestro Fresh Wes is celebrating the release of his 5th children's album, bringing his signature energy to family music.
Maestro Fresh Wes, how are ya?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
I never thought that I would see the day where I'd be hanging out in the principal's office with you.
You know what? It's funny because I'm here for my son got a basketball tournament, right? And it's cool because we're in the principal's office, but at the same time, I got my brand new album, children's album.
It all makes sense.
It all makes sense.
Okay, so in town for a basketball tournament, we borrowed the principal's office at the local school, as one does. But yeah, we want to talk about that new album. So this is your 5th children's album. Start by telling me, how did you get into making children's music anyway?
You know what? I'm like the Black Raffy. You know what I'm saying? Nah, you know what it was like? You know, I put out a book in 2010 called Stick to Your Vision. From that, it inspired me to do a children's book. Right? And from the children's book, that inspired me to do children's albums.
Cool.
You know, and time flew, it was one after the other, back to back, and right now we're celebrating, you know, the 5th consecutive one.
Amazing. And people have been loving them. They're doing really, really well, getting nominated for Junos. So talk to me about the latest. What is this one about? What's the themes here?
This is, you know, Back to the Time Machine, you know? It's about the Rhyme Travelers, and the Rhyme Travelers are basically a father and son team. And it was inspired by me and my son because we traveled actually from Toronto to the Maritimes, along with his mom too. And, you know, shout out to Halifax right now. We live in St. John, New Brunswick. But I thought it'd be cool to make it where it's like they travel through time and unravel through rhyme. And from that, more ideas started coming. I started developing that. And here we are right now to Back to the Time Machine. I'm very excited about it. And yeah, album number 5.
Awesome. And I saw that you have some cool visuals to go with it as well.
Yeah, you know, one of the favorite songs on the album is the King Tut Strut. You know, I thought that was kind of cool. They go back to ancient Egypt, 1323 BC, and they meet, you know, the pharaoh, the powerful pharaoh, King Tut, and the lead character, his name is Shaka Shabazz, right? I thought that was a cool name, and yeah, him and King Tut have, you know, a little dance off. I thought that'd be cool for the kids.
That's so awesome. And some local artists also lend their voices too?
Absolutely. Shout out to my man Jordan, you know. JRDN definitely did his thing. We got Simone Denny. Production, we got Dub J, my brother Warren Williams, Tone Mason, Socrates, and Solitaire, who did 2 joints on that as well. It's a beautiful thing, man. I love this album. You know, I've had kids on this album who've been in all 5.
So you always have kids' voices on them too?
I always have. This is a kid's album. It only makes sense, right?
Yes.
And the word is this the best of all, you know? And I want to say a special shout out to Kalu Thomas, who's the son of a dear friend of mine who passed away, King Rain. He plays the voice of Shaka Shabazz on this album. Wow. And Katie, how cool is it that we recorded his vocals on his father's birthday, man, you know? So this album means a lot to me. And going back to the time machine, definitely.
Yeah, that's so special. Album number 5, and this one is for, I think I read 9 and under is kind of the age range?
Approximately, but parents are going to listen to it too, if you know, and parents are going to like the rhythms on that too as well.
And Maestro Fresh Wes, you've been living in the Maritimes for how many years now? 5 years.
So basically 5, every year I've been putting out kids' albums since I've been living here. Maritimes love me, kids love me, I love the kids out there. Maestro Fresh Wes.
Mornings with Aaron and Peter.
60 seconds, 10 questions. If you can pull that off, you're going to win $1,000.
Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for the $1,000 Minute.
Another rough day for the Dow Jones. It ended the trading week down just over 300 points. Enbridge has approved an investment that will see more Canadian heavy oil being sent to the U.S. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez with the details.
The Canadian pipeline operator will spend $1.4 billion to increase the amount of oil it sends south. That investment will allow Enbridge to send another 150,000 barrels of oil a day through the mainline network, which runs from western to eastern Canada and the U.S. Midwest. And it will add 100,000 barrels a day to the Flanagan South pipeline, which runs to the U.S. Gulf Coast. Shares of MDA Space moved up today after it reported revenue of about $410 million in its latest quarter. That's a 45% increase from the same quarter last year. MDA Space makes robotics and satellite systems. It's also working on the next Canadarm to be used by NASA. Reuters is reporting the board of Barrick Mining considered splitting the company in two, one focused on North America and one on Africa and Asia. It also considered selling a project in Pakistan and all of its African assets. Barrick had to suspend production at its key gold operation in Mali this year during a dispute with the military-led government. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down a fraction to 71.30. West Texas Intermediate crude up over $1 to 59.95. Western Canadian Select is up, but only by 13 cents to 46.90. And the TSX gained only 72 points today, a small reversal after yesterday's big drop of over 500 points. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Kayla Mitchell now with the all-important Saturday morning wake-up weather.
And so, Todd, just to double-check, Grey Cup this year, Winnipeg, right?
Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Okay. I did double-check that forecast because initially I'd been looking at the Regina area. It is very similar weather conditions. Going to be just a few clouds around. Winnipeg will be a couple degrees chillier than what I had in the forecast there for Regina. So, chilly Grey Cup this year, but they've been chilly Grey Cups in the past, so I'm sure they'll be just fine. Our viewer picture for tonight is coming in from Port Hawkesbury, I hope. It was sent in from Francis McDonald. I want to thank Francis very much for sharing this picture with us. You can see gray skies in the background and boats in the water there. Port Hawkesbury for tomorrow. Well, for tonight and for tomorrow, still a chance of a shower or flurry drifting through, and high temperature tomorrow near 4 degrees. Taking a look at our day planner across the Maritime region, much of the region starts off the day on Saturday with temperatures at or at least a few degrees below the freezing mark. Western areas of New Brunswick, several degrees below zero. There will be that chance of a flurry or shower around Prince Edward Island, North Shore of Nova Scotia, and Cape Breton. Moving into Saturday afternoon, aside from that eastern part of the region that has a chance of a shower or flurry, the rest of the Maritimes clears to a mix of sun and cloud. Temperatures are going to be below seasonable for this far into November, with the high temperatures topping out mostly in the low single digits, and that will be accompanied by a northwest wind, the same one that we had blowing today, and that will have some gusts between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. After that, on Sunday, we do have that mixture of snow and rain arriving, with the snow expected to be heaviest in the northwest New Brunswick, Todd.
All right. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Yeah. Finally for us tonight, another milestone in the very bright career of Brad Marchand.
Osterinen with the empty net yawning. He scores.
There it is. Marchand reached the 1,000-point mark last night in a 6-3 win over the Washington Capitals. It was an empty netter to seal it. The Halifax native has also amassed 1,000 penalty minutes. As he said, most of the penalty minutes in the first part of his career, most of the points in the back half so far. He says fear of being pushed out of the NHL for not being good enough is part of what pushes him to work so hard. Whatever the reason, he's certainly playing prime career hockey right now for the Florida Panthers. That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco is here at 11:30. And CTV News Atlantic.ca has our weekend reporting. We're going to leave you in Martinsbrook, Nova Scotia, with scenes of the Tree for Boston ceremony and the names of everyone on this show. I'm Todd Battis. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you Monday. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast.